Welcome with me to Oak Hill Cemetery in downtown Newnan. Hey everybody, I have been wanting to come here, and this is a large expanse, so we will not get everywhere today. I know we won't, especially because I'm on my own, but I did want to bring you out here to Oak Hill Cemetery in Newnan. And curiously, the marker on the opposite side says 1833. This one says 1940. And you can see there's also a cemetery across the street. Like I said, it's really, and a kind of a cool water tower over there too, old time stuff. That was one of the mill properties. So we're here in Newnan. And welcome to Histories and Mysteries with me, Sally. I'm by myself today, couldn't drag anybody out here with me. There are a couple of things I'm going to look for, so I'll be turning the camera off and on looking for them since I'm by myself. But I did want to welcome you to the channel, and I hope if it's your first time visiting our channel that you enjoy what you see. If you like history, be sure to click the subscribe and like buttons for us. That really helps us out. And if you're a return customer, as they say, thanks for tuning us back in. We're really growing, and we're really getting a lot of cool responses to what we're doing. I took some notes about this cemetery, and I'm going to share those with you in just a minute. There are a few things we want to look for while we're here at this cemetery. One is the cemetery, the grave plot of Sheriff Lamar Potts, the longtime sheriff of Coweta County, where we are in Georgia. We want to look for that. We want to look for the Confederate War area, soldier area. There is a memorial, and I'm seeing a Confederate flag not far from here, so my assumption would be that area. We'll head there in just a minute. There's also apparently a stone here that marks the grave of just an arm, and I'll tell you that story in a minute. And fingers crossed, no pun intended, no pun intended, but fingers crossed that we find the arm. It's a good thing we have a couple of good arms left. And we'll tell you the story about this gentleman who does rest in peace just a few feet, again, no pun intended, from his arm. Well, that was going not how I wanted it to go, but anyway, there we go. We're here at the cemetery. We're going to walk around. One of the sites we're looking for is way down the road, so I'll walk around a little bit, then we'll jump back in the truck and see what we can get. I have a few notes about the cemetery as well, so we'll get those out in a minute. Let's go check things out together. So we'll head across the street. I want to be mindful of my battery because, unfortunately, I have lost 2 batteries and a little case that holds the memory cards. And the batteries aren't super expensive, but they're not too cheap either. So hey, this would be a good opportunity if you like the channel. If you want to do a little sponsorship, give us a little donation. I could sure use some battery donations always, and memory cards. So if you like what you see and you want to make a donation, reach out to me in a comment. And we do take Venmo. We'll give that shout out. We do take Venmo. Here's a brick, because gas getting here was not too cheap on us this weekend, because we're already in Newnan. Our tour company, Georgia Location Scout, has a big tour we're offering tomorrow, and so we're in Newnan anyway, so it was a good time to come to the cemetery. This cemetery has a mass expanse of graves. They are marked off by sections. Now, I will tell you, here's one with the fencing right here. Brooks. Tom and Bessie Brooks. There is a town not too far from here, Brooks, Georgia. Other names we would see in here, of course, would be Potts, Arnall, and we'll be looking around for some of these. There's some stones just leaning up against the wall. Again, this is a very, very large property. I doubt I'm going to get you all the way around it today, but don't worry, we're going to come back. And this cemetery actually does offer tours, and they would be able to tell you some of the details of some of the stories, but I made a few notes, so I will share some of the stories, and I wanted to share with you a few little pieces of information about this massive expanse of cemetery. Look at how far it goes. It actually has 12,000 graves on some 60 acres. Now I want to do some research to see how large in comparison in the state of Georgia would this cemetery be. I would want to guess this is one of the larger ones. Now when we went to Andersonville, that was a very large, massive burial as well. And I'm seeing the Confederates. We're just going to go ahead and walk there. That's not that far, but 12,000 some graves on 60 acres. And of course, current interments can happen here if you get your plot here at the Oak Hill Cemetery in Newnan. Now we're going to walk that way. We've got about 50% battery, so I'm going to get over here and see this. Then I'm going to turn the camera off and try to get, now here's an interesting plot. Hartsfield? Yes, Hartsfield. Now, of course, we have a Hartsfield Airport in Atlanta. Is it related? I'm not sure. I'll look into it. If you know something, leave a comment. You guys are our best source of all cool information. Now, this is where we're coming. Oh gosh, it got almost felt like I was a little out of breath there suddenly. Look at these lined up, and here we are in the Confederate Memorial area. Newnan was known for having several hospitals for the military. The military surgeons arrived in Newnan in 1863, and some 10,000 soldiers over the course of the war came to Newnan. Some are buried here. Our Confederate dead, no cause e'er rose, so just and true, none fell so free from crime. All right, so, you know, politics aside, these soldiers were fighting for things that they particularly believed in. So, of course, we do need to honor them. Here is William Thomas Overby. Thomas Overby, posthumously awarded the Confederate State of America Medal of Honor. William Thomas Overby. For some reason that name shines out to me. Let me check my notes in just a minute. I think there's a story behind Mr. Overby. Give me a moment to check my notes. Also, I wanted to look over here. I do know there's a story of these two. These were Revolutionary War heroes. Jason Aikens Locks, the North Carolina militia in the Revolutionary War. James Aiken. James Aiken. JAS was abbreviated for that. I apologize. The Revolutionary War. These stones list him as a patriot. Look at that. That's cool. Now, I did read about these two gentlemen, and I'm glad that we were able to find them. That was fairly easy to locate this particular stone. Now, let's go read really watching my batteries. May have to switch over to the phone. That's okay. We have a little separation in the stones here under this tree. And they're all lined up. This is a Civil War hallowed ground for Confederate dead. And we'll go read the sign here. Okay, so two things that I've been trying to find. I found possibly a third when I get my notes back out. Confederate dead. Here are buried 268 Confederate soldiers, most of whom died of wounds or disease in the several Confederate hospitals located here in Newnan. Some were killed in battle, fought south of here, July 30th, 1864. Due to the efficiency of the local hospitals, only 2 are unknown. Most of these men were veterans of many hard-fought battles. Every state in the Confederacy is represented in these burials. Also buried here are 2 Revolutionary War soldiers and 1 from the First World War. Okay, so these are the Confederate graves here in Newnan. It is listed as Section 21. If you're interested, it's right off the main drag, easy to find. And we did find the 2 Revolutionary soldiers. And then it lists 1 World War II veteran. My assumption now, there are the Confederate graves. My assumption is this lone stone perhaps is the World War II stone. Let's see if there's a, oops, not tripped. Nope, that's Confederate. So I don't know where the 1 World War II stone is, but it is mixed in here as well. Now let me go turn this off for a minute and double check my notes. Check back with you in a second. All right, I'm back out here at this military section, this military memorial. We are in Oak Hill Cemetery of Newnan. We stopped here a minute ago and saw William Thomas Overby. The name struck out to me, and let me tell you his story. The story was he was captured by the Union and offered his life in return for information on the location of his particular group, and he refused, and he was killed because he wouldn't give up the information of his fellow soldier. And here he is buried here, and that is why he was awarded the Confederate Medal of Honor. Interesting. Let's go find some more stuff. Hey guys, walking back up to the truck, and I found this memorial, Lydia Reed Beavers. It talks about where she was born, when she was married. She had 13 children. She died. Her husband's buried in an unmarked grave. She departed this life over 50 years later from the husband. And this says here, after a long pilgrimage of 88 years, such a death is like the close of a summer day, mellow and peaceful. The heart, though in tears, utters no protest and says, all is well. Interesting. I had a friend I worked with, a co-worker, and she said that in her home country, she was from an African country, and she said that if a person reaches a certain age and passes away, they try not to mourn too much for the gift of a wonderful life, and that's nice. All right, we're gonna jump in the truck, see if we can find Lamar Potts. That's what we're here for. Bye. Oh, quickly, a hand. We were talking about important names in this area: Meriwether, Cole, and Hand. The Arnalls and the Cole family put together Arnco Mills, which we've talked about a little bit before. It's in this area. Newnan was very well known for mills and railroads. So it's pretty interesting that we happened upon a coal. And there's a very grand statue there. Higbee, Bigby Parrot. Now, let me mention to you too, before we go on anymore, there are 2 governors of Georgia buried here, and I believe 8 other statesmen for the state of Georgia. I don't think we'll find all those today, but let's go try to find Lamar Potts, the sheriff of Coweta County many years ago. Hey everybody, we're back out here in a further out section of what is still Oak Hill Cemetery. You can see the Noonan Water Tower in the distance there. Like I said, this is 60 acres. And we were looking for Lamar Potts, so we checked on the phone and we looked at section 27. And I looked over here, and indeed, I see the name Potts. Now, I believe he's also buried here with his brother J.H. Potts, who was his only deputy. And interestingly enough, in the movie Murder in Coweta County, we know that Johnny Cash played Lamar Potts, Andy Griffith played John Wallace, June Carter Cash played Mahalia Lancaster. Well, J.H. Potts, Lamar's brother, who was the deputy to him, who was the sheriff, Lamar was the sheriff, he was played in the movie by Earl Hindman. And if you remember, he was the neighbor from Tim the Toolman in that show, Home Improvement. Now, these must be his parents. Maybe. I haven't found Lamar. I have found Juliet Potts and Mary Potts. And now let's check these stones here. We may have to keep searching. Dick B. Tope, Alice Tope. These are Topes. Okay, so we have not found Lamar's grave. We were told, said row 3, section 27. Aha, here we go. William Albert Potts. No, that's his father for sure. Julia Power Potts, that would have been his mother. We are looking for Lamar Potts. Julia Potts Short. Aha, here we are. Catherine Shields Potts, this was his wife. And here we have the very modest grave of Lamar Potts. Albert Lamar Potts. Now, interestingly enough, on the internet it says 1900, and on his stone it says 1901. I don't know, I'll have to look into that one for you guys, but this is the final resting place. A very somber, quiet grave in section 27 of Oak Hill Cemetery. We have found Albert Lamar Potts. He was known for his role in bringing to justice John Wallace of Meriwether County. He was also known for, at the time he retired in Coweta County after some 30 years as sheriff here in Coweta County, no major crimes, no felonies had been left unsolved at the time that he retired. We also know that the current jail is named for Lamar Potts. Now, some people will tell you that he was involved in moonshine, as John Wallace was, and that could be true. I can't tell you one way or another. but here is his wife's grave. But I can tell you that most reports say that he was a good guy, and I really haven't heard or read anything to the contrary. So here we have the grave, the final resting place of Sheriff Albert Lamar Potts, who brought to justice John Wallace, who crossed the county lines from Meriwether into Coweta County, and he brought to justice John Wallace, who was the first white, rich landowner in Georgia, executed for murder, found guilty of murder, right here at the Newnan Courthouse. Based mainly on the testimony of two African-American farm tenants. Now, in those days, the African-Americans were not even really allowed in court, let alone to testify against a rich white landowner. So this was the first time, and it changed the course of Georgia history. Mr. Lamar Potts. As far as I know about him, he was a good man, so we will honor his grave. And we're trying to find one more thing. I doubt we're going to find it today, but hopefully we can. So let's move on. This is definitely a cemetery that we will have to return to. I tried to take a cemetery tour this year with Coweta County, but it was canceled at the last minute. So we'll try to do that again this year, take a tour and find out more of the details of all of the souls and their interesting stories who are here at the massive expanse, the 60 acres, which is Oak Hill Cemetery. Let's see if we can find anything else interesting before we head back to the office. Preparing for a big tour tomorrow in Sonoy, a big walking tour. But we did indeed find Lamar Potts. We're looking for one more crazy thing. We're actually looking for a grave that just marks a guy's arm. His arm is there, but he is not. I'm going to try to go search on my phone the gentleman, and perhaps we can find his grave and his arm close by. I did also want to stop and see this one. Effie Jane. If you know me, the name Effie was a character when we did our Norcross ghost tours. Cool, old-fashioned name, Effie. Keith. All right, we found the section of Keith's family that we could find. Again, I wanted to tell you, we are on 60 acres of a cemetery, and I've found several things that I was looking for, but I have not found the marker that shows just the hand. And I don't know if you can see that on my phone. I will show you a picture. I'll add a picture in the video. But Mr. Keith, he was working at a sawmill and lost his arm, and he had his arm buried. He survived another 30 years, and he buried his arm, and then he was buried near his arm. These are the only Keiths that I can find. So, looks like we need another trip to the History Museum. And last time we were there, they did not have any copies of... I'm going to kind of looking around to see if we could see that marker. It doesn't look like we're going to find it today. Kind of running out of juice as well. I did want to add to the stories to tell you that he might have buried his arm separately from himself, because back then Stonewall Jackson was sort of a hero to many of the South, and he very famously had his arm buried separately from his body. But I can't find it. So we did pretty well finding most of the things. You didn't find that one. And as we're walking back to the truck, I promise you guys we're going to come back here. We'll do even more research. Maybe we'll even drag somebody out here from the Historic Society who can help us identify some of these stones that we are looking for. Now this may be one that I did read about as being ornate. Yes, I did some research on this one. Daniel Alexander Haney. People have left some stones here. He was a medical doctor that worked at actually opened what's called Pine Ridge Sanitarium, and that was in response to people with tuberculosis. Like we talked about when we went to Griffin, talked about how Doc Holliday suffered from that, and there were sanitariums set up, and there was one in nearby the Pine Mountain area. So this is a stone I was looking for. Just happened up on this one. Sure wish I'd find that other one I'm looking for, but I'm about to give up for the afternoon. It's getting kind of warm, getting kind of tired. I did tell you that, of course, there are 2 governors of Georgia buried here. We'll look into all that. We'll come back. Let's just call this part 1 of Oak Hill Cemetery, because we did not find all the things we wanted to find. I also find it interesting that this stone, and I'm about to run out of juice on my battery, but this stone is in a very large plot, but it's all alone here. So I don't know if the doctor's children grew up, moved away, or whether he never married and had children. I don't know. We'll have to look into all that.